Okay, good afternoon, members, and welcome to this meeting of the Stranraer Common Good Subcommittee. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be made available for viewing through our Council's website. Remote participants, please follow the good practice guidance, which includes muting microphones and switching off your video when you're not addressing the meeting, writing speak in the Teams chat function when you want to contribute. Please don't repeat contributions already made by other members. No material should be posted in the chat function if it's intended as part of the discussion, and the usual standing orders apply, including that any votes will be undertaken by roll call. If any member has to leave the meeting, please either leave the Teams meeting for that period of time or write leave in the Teams chat function and then join when you rejoin the meeting so we can keep track of whether the meeting is quorate. All members should speak clearly, taking their time and speaking directly into the microphone when making contributions. When referring to reports, please provide reference to the relevant page and paragraph to allow everyone to follow. Please focus contributions in areas where clarification is required or to propose an alternative to a recommendation. Item 1 is Cedrant and apologies, and I approve remote participation. Ingrid, can you confirm the Cedrant for us, please?
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, members. I can confirm that we have yourself as Chair here in the room. We also have Councillor Andrew Giusti. We have apologies from Councillor Chrissy Hill, but we have a substitution from Councillor David Ingalls, who will cover for Chrissy today. And we also have Robert Downey, who is our community representative.
Thank you, and thanks to Robert and David for coming along today. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Do any members have a statement of connection or a declaration of interest to make? Councillor Giusti.
Thanks, Chair. It's a statement of connection. I've had emails regarding applications and item 9. I've only given procedural advice and helped to see if we can get it to this area committee, this common good, etc. But I've not made any decisions or given any unbiased views on it.
Okay, thank you. So a statement of connection. Item 3, minutes of previous meeting of 19th of June. Happy to approve. I'll take silences or verbal. Item 4, minutes of previous meeting 3rd of September for approval.
Happy to approve.
Yep. And item 5, minutes of previous meeting 7th of October for approval.
Happy to approve.
Thank you. Moving on. Item 6, Stranraer Common Good Fund, final outturn 2024 and financial plan for 2025-26. This report provides members with the final outturn of last year and the financial plan for the year ahead. We've got David Hurston from Bruin Dolphin here today to assist members. David, could I turn to you first? Have you got anything to add to the report or to guide us through today? Thank you.
I was just going to update you on the valuation, which has actually changed since the pack was sent across to you. So just to bring you right up to date with the value at the close of business yesterday, £773,830. So it's a nice little increase, even just compared to when the pack was put together. Once a year, we are obliged to formally reconfirm the approach that we take in the management of the assets on behalf of all of our clients. We did this roughly a year ago, and if you cast your mind back, we did agree to increase the level of risk within the portfolio from our risk level 6 to risk level 7. And so today, what I would like to do is just make sure that there haven't been any changes on your side at all that would influence that, or any planned capital expenditure, or anything else that you think might have an impact upon the way that we manage the investments.
Thank you. I'll open it up to members. I've got Councillor Giusti.
Thanks, Chair. I think we've got quite a healthy common good budget. I think we've got quite a healthy capital there. David, is there any, if we had remained at risk level 6, what would have been our difference in income this year, if you've got that to hand?
It's difficult to be precise about that. I mean, certainly the capital growth that we've seen has been better for being in risk category 7. The income, there probably wouldn't have been a material change. We are in the circumstances now where actually lower risk assets are giving more income than higher risk assets. So more risk means less income, but more capital growth. So from a total return perspective, you're probably in a better position for having moved up the risk scale. From an income perspective, there probably hasn't been a huge impact. It's still only 1 year, and you have to look at these things really over multi-year periods.
Andrew, does that help?
That on the Brew and Dolphin side, I'm pretty confident that we're on the right course at the minute. On our Appendix 2, though, which is our balance sheet, and I'm looking at the property that we own in the sense of the Old Town Hall, Castle St John, Stair Park Practice Football Ground, and I'm seeing from 2024 to 2025, we've decreased in value. For example, the Old Town Hall seems to have decreased in value by about, what, 40, 42, 43% or something like that. The Castle St John has decreased by not as heavily as that, but what's with these large decreases in valuation of our properties, especially when you think if the Old Town Hall is the Stranraer Museum, from my thinking, isn't it? How come it's had all that work done and it's gone down in value?
Thank you. That's an interesting point. Ingrid, is that one for you, maybe?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I mean, it is a good question. It's one that I'm afraid I'm going to have to take back to colleagues in our finance department. I'm not 100% sure why that is the case.
Okay, thank you. Well, if we could take that as an action to get a follow-up, Councillor Giusti.
Yeah, Chair, I think it's worth it because I think if you're a member of the public and you were glancing your eyes over this and scrutinising this committee, you would see total balances from 3.56 million last year down to 2.8, and you think, what are they doing on that common good to lose just under £1 million in a year? And it's nothing that we've done, it's just the reduction in property value.
Yeah, it's difficult to speculate probably, but we can take that as an action and get that information provided to members. Okay. Do any members have any further comments or such to add for either David or Ingrid? Nope. Okay. So if we're content with that, I'll just move to the recommendations then. So 2.1, we've noted that the fund holds a cash balance of 59,732 as of the 31st of March. We've noted the assets and liabilities presented in the balance sheets. We've agreed the financial objective of the financial plan being to maintain the financial health of the fund and maximise and manage the level of free income available for distribution by the Common Good Subcommittee. And we've received the presentation from David Houston from Brew and Dolphin, so thanks for coming along today, David. Okay, thank you, members. Moving on. Item 7 is Stranraer Christmas lights, update on provision and condition. So at a meeting of the Stranraer Common Good Subcommittee in November 2024, it was requested that a report be brought forward to provide an update on the Christmas lights in Stranraer. I'm glad that we've got this in front of us today. Nicola, thanks for coming along today. And have you anything to add to the report just before we jump in?
I did send an update out to individual members last week, providing an update on the outcome of the fixed points assessment that was carried out. So that was really the latest update I had. I didn't want to wait until the day of committee to give you that, so just gave you that in advance. I haven't had any comment back as yet, so happy to answer any questions if I can. Okay,
thank you. I believe that this is something that we as elected members have been lobbied quite hard on, and we've had a lot of communications around the Christmas lights. But I'll open it up to member questions. Councillor Giusti.
Thank you, Chair. It's one of the things that we were looking at maybe investing capital in, and that's why we've requested this report to maybe improve the Christmas light situation in the town. We've got old units there that maybe need updating. But one of the things that came from your email last week, Nicola, is that embargoed or is that available to be discussed at a public meeting just before I go on?
No, it's not embargoed in any way. It was just to let you know that this year, given the close proximity to Christmas now, we're not going to be able to get lights up in Charlotte Street this year. But I did say in my email where we would be able to put up lights. There was still going to be a good display, but that particular street has got a number of problems with the anchor points. And it's a bit of a lengthy job because some of the buildings are empty. We're going to have to find the owners to get permission to be able to make the improvements. And there was also going to be £15,000 worth of cost associated with making these improvements. So we would be looking to the common good to be paying that cost if possible.
So to come back on that, Chair, so that I think the common good will be very disappointed to hear that we'll not be able to put lights on that street. Considering we were raising the issue of the condition of these lights a year ago, to have that come now when it's too late to actually fix this. And I appreciate the time that's taken, but this £15,000 expense, can the common good actually give that expense for what is a council function? Or do you have to come to us for a grant, or can we use our cash summary or our cash budget for that? I don't know.
Well, sorry, Nicola, on you go.
That's okay. I was just going to say the issue that we've got for the problem that we've experienced with the anchor points was not part of the original report. That was a assessment that gets done every 5 years, so it's just come due, in sort of September. And it's been when we've had the outcome of that fault has been found. It wasn't a fault with the actual Christmas lights themselves, it was the anchorage points that has failed here. As far as my understanding is, Christmas lights provision is not, a statutory function of the council. And there are a lot of communities who actually fund in their entirety their Christmas lights themselves throughout the region. Stranraer has done it differently in the past, and we're continuing to work with that way of working. But this additional cost is beyond just the erection and dismantling of the Christmas lights, which is why I've put it forward the way I have.
Thank you. That's really useful. So the common good, Wigton Area Committee members, via our discretionary funds, provide £7,750 per annum to the Council's Community Assets team to erect the Christmas lights in the town every year. And I think Nicola's right, in other places throughout the region, it's not the council who are doing that. They've not been contracted, it's community groups. I think, Councillor Ingalls, it's the same in Newton Stewart, where it's a community group who do the lights.
It is a community group, yeah.
So £15,000 in order to replace the lights. Did I hear that correct, Nicola?
It's not to replace the lights, it's to replace the anchor points which hold the lights up against the buildings, yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Giusti, yeah.
So I'm just thinking of this, Chair, with the willingness of this common good to spend either cash budget or capital budget, increasing our lights and improving and buying new lights, is that something that we would have to maybe do another survey for, Nicola, in the sense of if we go and buy heavier lights, will that be okay for some of the existing anchor points that are okay, the ones that don't need to be replaced? And if we do replace some of them, if we were to buy new lights, would they have to be reassessed as being able to take that weight load, or would we stay within that weight load?
No, the anchor points are inspected every 5 years, and that assesses them for the ability to have lights hanging from them. The actual individual lighting structures are not assessed as part of that assessment. It's obviously judged that it can take Christmas light strings on it. So my understanding is, and we can obviously seek further clarification, but my understanding is at the moment that the other anchor points are all fine. And if these ones are repaired as recommended by the specialist company, then they will be good for another 5 years as well. Appendix that was provided with the report gives a list of all the current lights that are in the store for Stranraer, And some of these, they're all the lights are actually operational at the moment. Maybe I'll need to replace with the odd replacement bulb, but we cover that in the grant that we're given for it. So it would just be if you were replacing whole strings or displays that you would need to fund that going forward.
Nicola, thanks for all that information. See the anchor points, if we do fix them or replace them using a specialist company, you said 5 years there. Is that a 5-year guarantee, or is there a guarantee for longer than that? Or what's the life expectancy?
The agreement we've got is that they're inspected every 5 years. That's the sort of optimal time for inspecting them to make sure that they're compliant and safe.
Out with inspection, what I'm asking is what's the life cycle you'd expect out of one of these fixtures? Would it be 20 years or is it 10 years?
I don't know. I would have to seek that information for you. I'm not aware of what the actual life expectancy of the structure is.
Chairman, what would be Common Good Fund's approach if it was a major expenditure needed, like a lot more than 15,000? If you happen to draw down assets to actually...
Yeah, so my understanding is that some of the lighting is now over 20 years old, and the condition of the lights, in terms of being good lights and in good condition, they're going to require investment in the short term. Nicola, I mean, there's no cost for the potential light replacement within the report. It just says that it needs to be identified in the short term, but there's no other work being done behind the scenes at present to evaluate how much that would be, is there?
No, not as yet.
Okay.
No.
Ingrid, I'm in your hands as well here. Could that be taken as a recommendation for officers to investigate the cost for replacement of the lights as a scoping exercise?
Chair, I think obviously we'd be relying on community assets team to undertake that work, so I guess that would be a decision for Nicola and her team to take if that could be done, but yeah.
Yes, what we can do is when we're taking the lights back down this year, I could ask the team to give them a thorough inspection and to make contact with suppliers to identify which ones would be best to be replaced and get an indicative cost and bring it back to you. We could do that.
Andrew? Oh, Robert,
I think the general opinion, Chair, would be that the lights in Stranraer, the Christmas lights, are getting a bit tired. And I think even the tree, things like that. So I think it's something we really should be looking at and get in this after New Year. You know, don't leave it till late on. We're far too late. We're chasing our tail here. You know, and I mean, the whole Christmas light thing is getting to be a really bad issue in Stranraer this year. So we need to be a wee bit on the ball next year and be at the front and put a word out what's going to happen. And if we need to get a major investment in it, you're going to have to work on how you're going to do it. Or you start maybe thinking about sponsorship. I don't know if that's a potential with businesses in the town.
That's maybe something to investigate, but as Nicola said, certainly when they are dismantling them after this festive season, that would be an opportunity to, I suppose, investigate the equipment and do a scoping exercise in terms of cost for replacement. And in terms of ownership, Nicola, there were some queries around that as well, wasn't there, actually? Who owns the assets?
Yes, and I'm afraid I can't assist with that. Basically, they've been looked after by us on behalf of the common good for quite a long time. I don't think anybody is exactly clear on who bought what and when, because, as I say, some of them are over 20 years old and staff have changed, etc. So we're just holding them for the community, really. But obviously any new purchases, it would be documented on a register as to where the funding came from for them. Indeed,
thank you. Councillor Giusti.
Thank you, Chair. So, Chair, in the meantime, I think we've got an issue on our hands with the 15,000 for the wall sockets. Are we able today to agree in principle that we are willing to fund that £15,000 out of our cash balance to replace these sockets so that they're able to be done? I don't know, maybe while the guys are up taking the lights down or whatever, whenever. So that would be the first part of what I'm going to propose. The second part is, rather than just replacing like for like, Nicola, we might want to have some kind of community conversation with the community council and so the trusts in the town to see actually what would be more strategic points to have bigger and better lights or wherever, or maybe have a proper conversation with the community about what we aspire for rather than what we've had. That's maybe how I would suggest we do it, Chair.
Are you recommending, as an additional recommendation, that the Common Good Committee takes out of our free income the 15,000 for the anchor points?
We have a cash balance of 59,732. I would take that out of there. Or is that enough, Nicola, or is that a good starting point for you?
That 15,000 would cover the replacement of all those that have failed in this current inspection. Yes. So that would see it through to be safe for the next few years.
Chair, just a couple of points. When will the report that you are going to do on the fittings, when will we get that? Would that be like early next summer, spring, so we can take action?
Well, I suppose I'm in community assets hands on this one because it would depend when they would do the report and they've got all that information. But I think, as Nicola said, it would be once they're dismantled and they've done that scoping exercise. Nicola?
Yes, I would say that would be the best time to do it when the staff are working with the lights and obviously have them, spread out and checking them carefully when they bring them back down. That would identify what is the oldest of the lights structures. If you're wishing to have a community discussion on it, we would have to start that as soon as possible. Do a bit of scoping out first to perhaps come up with a selection of choices that can then be displayed to the public. As a starting point, some members of the public might have their own ideas of what they would like to see. But I think just having a kind of scoping exercise first would be best. We'll also have to undertake the tracking down of the building owners in order to make sure they're in agreement with the replacement anchor points. I'm assuming that when the anchor points were installed initially, way back, whenever that was, that building owners gave their permission at that time. But some buildings will have changed owners, etc. During that. So we need to make sure, because replacing the anchor points, there's some where the anchor point is still in the wall, but the wall round about it has fallen away, exposing the metal bracket. That would require to be cut off flush with the wall and replastered over, and then a fresh hole dug to put the new anchor point in to give it a secure fixing. So it is a pretty structural job. We would have to have permission from the building owners as well. So we'll be starting that possibly even in advance of Christmas to try and get that in place before we move forward with any repairs.
Thank you. Councillor Giusti?
Hi, Chair. So Claire, Nicola, sorry, Nicola, not Claire. Nicola, when it comes to procuring fresh lights, are we quite limited with the companies that we can work with through procurement, or is there quite a variety there for us? Would it be worth us having, I don't know, I'm not going to say a road show, but like a day in the likes of the Millennium Centre or somewhere where we invite the groups in and show them just what's on offer and see what we're going to do that way, like a strategic partners kind of overview of this?
Potentially, yes, we could try and arrange something like that. I'm afraid I do not know how many contractors we've got at our disposal. I've never purchased a Christmas light in my life up to this point, so it's a bit new. But I can certainly make inquiries with the council's procurement team, and I can find out that in advance and see if they would, because that might be quite a good way of letting the public see what potential structures there are. There's also, as I say, a number of groups throughout the region who purchase their own Christmas lights. We could also approach them to find out where they're buying their lights from and see if that's a way of engaging with some suppliers.
Yeah, Chair, I think, as Councillor Giusti said, a community consultation is the way forward, because that would calm a lot of the things that's going on in the community aggravation at the moment. And also, we have just recently we're going to be getting more wind farm access to a lot of money. So we're looking for the investment potential through the community councils. So I think a community way forward with this and consulting the public would be a great way of going forward with this. But do it soon as, not leave it till we're too late to actually do something for next year.
We'll try and prioritise this for the first quarter of the new year to try and get this moving forward, because I appreciate it is going to take a bit of time to get it done.
Thank you. Councillor Ingalls.
Yeah, just to say, I think there's a limited number of companies that provide Christmas lights. I think it's quite tight. I know that Newton Stewart Light Group, they purchase them from France. I think it's Balsier or something they're called. But it would be worth having a conversation with that group to see exactly how they've done it. And they've also included designs by school kids. Designs on the Christmas lights. Thanks.
If that's Blushear you're talking about, that's also the company that do the anchor point testing. So we have contact with them already, and they're on the procurement framework to be able to be used as well.
That sounds promising. Robert?
I think that's a great idea involving the schools, because we are quite involved with the schools and community council already, so getting them involved would be a great way forward. Getting to the parents through the schools is a great idea.
Magic, thank you. So, moving on to the recommendations, I think we've got a few additional recommendations here. Yep.
Just another point. It was astounding what that Christmas Lights group raised within the 9 months that they needed to raise the money. And most of the businesses actually supported it. So, although you've got your own money, it would be good if your businesses could support as well.
Well, that was just what I thought about the sponsorship route, because I think it's a great, and people can identify then with certain businesses putting money into it. Are they even the bigger businesses away from Stranraer, but the ones that get the money out of the town?
Yeah, I mean, I think local businesses would be very happy for Stranraer to have Christmas lights, and would be happy perhaps to contribute to ensure that that happens. So yeah, that's something that we can maybe pursue through the consultation. Yeah.
Yep.
So moving on to the recommendations, we've asked to note 2.1, the information provided in relation to Stranraer Christmas lights, including the inventory of lighting materials. And thanks for providing that, Nicola. It's really detailed, and it's great to have it as a breakdown. 2.2, that all lighting listed is currently operational, but that investment will be required in the short term to replace items which are over 20 years old and are coming towards end of life. And I think we've got a 2.3, if we could add. So further agreed to undertake a scoping exercise on the anchoring points. On the lights themselves when they're dismantled. Yep. And 2.4, I think, in order to undertake the scoping exercise on the lights themselves in terms of replacing those. And 2.5, which is to do a public consultation on the future of the running of the lights. Councillor Giusti, is that what you're looking for, perhaps?
Maybe not the running of the lights, but it's more of a maybe try and tease the public into maybe look at running the lights if we put nice lights up that they feel like they were a part of choosing and they like the spread, they might be more inclined to come and help us with that and take over some lights. So it's more the placement and the type of lights they want in specific areas. Like the Welcome to Stranraer lights starts at like the Royal Hotel, or I can't remember what's missing, it's like Mary Mass from Stranraer. At the moment, I can't remember exactly what it is, but the likes of that, maybe that's worth putting somewhere else, I don't know, or something similar somewhere else. So it's more that location discussion as well as what they would like there.
So that can be collated, and I suppose the exact wording would be undertake a consultation on Christmas lights in Stranraer. Yeah. Okay. Ingrid, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Just to be clear, and for the sake of the minute, did we decide where the funding for this was coming from? Was it from the capital?
For the consultation, or for?
No, for the actual works that needed to be undertaken, because I don't think we've got that clear.
So we have let me just go back. It would be difficult to mess about with our capital now, as we've just confirmed with David that we don't plan on taking any capital out of the Bruin Dolphin at this point in time. But what we do have is a cash balance of 59,732, I would say that we could take £15,000 out of that to do the works that need to be done, and we're still left with plenty for any grants we need to give out. And I believe that will refresh in March again, will it, or April, sorry, in the turn of the financial year when it comes.
Yes, sorry, there'll be an update, yeah, at that point.
It may be worth just agreeing that in principle for now, because the consultation will inform where people want their anchor points to go, perhaps. So I think we've got a way forward here. Ingrid, do you want to sum up for us if you've got a note of the recommendations? Thank you. 2 point...
Can I ask something quickly, Chair? I presume, no harm to you, but do we just go with the one estimate to repair and we don't actually get a quote to do all this work? Because 15 grand is quite a lot of money. You know, I'm sure local contractors could actually do the job. Is that a possibility?
Well, it possibly is. It's just that historically we've always used this Bloshare group because of their experience with Christmas lights and Christmas light anchor points, and that was who it was arranged with that had done the previous few inspections, and obviously we went straight to them for this most recent inspection, which has cost £5,000 as well, but we picked up the cost of that for that inspection. So
it was more the cost of the repairs. And I was quite happy with the survey. It was the action that's needed after the survey. You know, what we're going to do then.
Potentially, we could see if there's other places that can give us a more competitive quote. I don't know. I would need to look at that to see if there's other companies available. It's not something I don't believe that we would be comfortable just to get, you know, a local, well, blacksmith or builder or something like that to do. It would need to be a company that's got a specialism in that type of equipment, I think, to be confident of the fixings.
I've got Councillor Justine and Councillor Ingalls.
Thanks, Chair. So being a committee of the council, and it's not like the White Stranraer Educational Trust where we're our own body, the common good still comes under the delegation of the council. What is our playbook when it comes to procurement? Can we procure our own stuff? Can we make that decision? Or do we have to go through the framework that the council currently has? Because that would maybe create difficulties for our local contractors if they're not on the system.
I'll pass over to Nicola on this one, but my understanding is that procurement is quite a highly regulated field, is it not? You know, through Scotland Excel, for example, and other regulators. But Nicola.
Yes, thank you. I think I was assuming that you would want me, as in the council, to do the purchasing, and I am bound to use the suppliers that are on the framework. But as I've said, other towns and villages are totally self-sufficient with their Christmas lights, and they must be buying them from somewhere. So they, of course, would not be as regulated. But everywhere has the anchor points that have to be tested, and the council needs to keep control of that part to ensure the safety of everyone. So it can be a bit of a hybrid, but if I have to do the purchasing, and obviously that would save you the VAT element if the council was doing the purchasing, it would have to be through the framework, is my understanding.
Councillor Ingalls.
Yeah, the other problem that we face if you're going to use a separate contractor to the supplier of the lights is at least the supplier of the lights knows what bracket and what tensions they'll need to have for those lights that are going to go up. So putting them all under that one company would probably make sense for me, but I can understand exactly where you're coming from a competitive point of view.
I didn't mean to lock the vote, I just actually wanted to ask the question.
Well, I understand.
Okay, Ingrid, I don't want to put you on the spot, but the recommendations, is there any light at the end of this tunnel? Christmas lights.
So 2.1 and 2.2 would be as is in the report. 2.3 would be for community assets team to inspect lights on the takedown this year and identify potential costs. 2.4, to use £15,000 of the cash balance to fund works for the anchor points. I think I've got that right. And 2.5, to hold a public engagement session to look at, to invite the public to have a look at what lights could potentially be put up in the future.
And just for clarity, the Councillor Giusti, I was proposing that the anchor points, we agreed that money in principle until the public consultation is done. So we don't do the anchor points first and then consult the public about where they want them to go. We ask them first.
I think in general most of those anchor points on Charlotte Street where we've got the failure, we're going to put them probably in the same place in Charlotte Street anyway, or lights of some sort in those anchor points. I'm thinking more of like the Welcome to Stranraer and some of the kind of more strategic big signs that you have at different points. They might change and that might require us to put more anchor points in, but I think the ones that have failed so far, you wouldn't want to see them being lost. I think the public will probably want to see more being put in, if that makes sense, in my mind.
I'm sure it makes sense in your mind, but...
I quite agree with Councillor Eustace. I think if we're going to do this and do it well, we'll want to see a better light display, not poorer. So you'll be at least what we've got plus more. The only thing I would say about this is, as we've said, a lot of these buildings have changed hands. And you might not get back onto the... You might have to go to a different building to get a mounting point. So you're going to have to be flexible.
So we'll do the consultation before we spend money on the anchor points. I think so. Yeah. Okay. Councillor Ingalls, yeah.
Sorry, just a quick question. Is the 15,000 inclusive of VAT? Or is it a council perspective, it's plus VAT?
It would be plus VAT on top of that. That's the cost to the council, yes. And obviously, if you're talking about adding more anchor points anywhere, then that 15,000 will increase. That's just to replace the ones that are broken. If you were wanting to add in any extras anywhere, that would need to be factored in as well after the consultation's done.
Okay, thank you. Any more comments? No. Ingrid, one last time for us. Thank you.
Here goes. Hopefully I've got this right. So 2.1, members are asked to note the information provided in relation to Stranraer Christmas lights, including an inventory of lights and materials. 2.2, that all lighting listed is currently operational, but the investment will be required in the short term to replace items which are over 20 years old and are coming towards the end of their life. 2.3, for community assets to inspect lights on takedown this year and identify potential costs. 2.4, to hold a public engagement session to look at what lights could be put up in the future. And then 2.5, use an indicative cost of £15,000 from the cash balance to fund the works for the anchor points. That's it, thanks.
No, that's great, thank you. Okay, happy with that? So we've agreed the recommendations and the additional recommendations. Thanks, Nicola. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, bye. Okay, so next item is agenda item 8, Common Good Land, status of the land at Stranraer Seafront, including Port Roddy. I never know if it's Roddy or Roddy. I just say, is it Roddy? Roddy. Okay, so... So this report is to provide members with a legal update on the common good status of the land at Stranraer Seafront, including Port Roddy. Solicitor, we've got Stephen Whitelaw here to answer any questions. So the purpose of this report, as I understand it, Stephen, is just to tell members that the land is not common good.
Good afternoon. Yes, the reason I've been asked to prepare this report is that for reasons unknown, it was being treated as if it was common good, but the records clearly show that it isn't. And so given that we were in, or the Luff Transport project was in the middle of a consultation, which is when this was all discovered, I was asked to bring a report just to explain why that hasn't come back and the legal basis for it not being common good.
Thank you. It's probably quite strange what you find sometimes when you're digging around in old archives and old documents and such. But my question is, in regards to the financial aspect, is there any reduction in income for this? It says under implications and risks on page 56, financial future income would not be paid to the Stranraer Common Good Fund. So was there income being paid previously through this, and is there a reduction as a result of this new discovery of sorts? Thanks.
Well, I don't have all the financial information. I think what we were getting at there was if there was a sale, for example, of a piece of land, that the proceeds of that sale would not in the future credit to the Common Good Fund. If there was a lease, then the rental income would not be payable to the Common Good Fund. I'm not aware of any current income generation that there is there. That would probably be a question that I'd have to check with finance.
Okay, no, that's great. Thank you very much. Members, any other comments or questions? Nope. Okay, so we'll just move on.
Excuse me.
Robert, yes.
We did have a discussion last night at our community council meeting about, I don't know if it was the potential Network Layer are proposing moving the station from Stranraer, and one of the we had heard was that we were going to put a link through to the new transport hub that's been proposed in this land. And another issue was that they're having to move the transport hub back a bit because they can't have it as where they actually want it to be. They're moving further up into the car park. But that's nothing to do with you. I mean, if you do you not own any of that land that you're talking about?
So, and maybe Stephen, you can help with this. My understanding is that the land which was previously thought of as belonging to the Stranraer Common Good, but it doesn't belong to the Stranraer Common Good. So, Stephen, is it just standard council land then?
Yes. So, I mean, all land that's common good is ultimately owned by the council. The council is the legal entity that owns it. Whether or not something is common good is then a quality, if you like, of the ownership rather than any change in ownership. So if there's, and I don't know the details about the transport hub, but if it's on the land that that we're talking about, that will be council owned land.
Yeah, I don't know if long term it will make any easier getting the train station moved there, Robert. But yeah, have you anything to add?
Have Stena any involvement in all of this?
I think that's an ongoing conversation at the minute. There's various parties involved, but yeah, this report isn't necessarily about that. It's about the land, but it's maybe something that we can follow up after. Okay. So we'll move to the recommendations. So we've noted that the land at Stranraer Seafront, including Port Rody, is not common good, and that as it's not common good, no decision-making powers exist for this subcommittee in respect of the consultation carried out for the Lough Transport Project. Okay, thanks, Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. If it's okay, I'll drop off the call now.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. Moving on, agenda item 9, applications for financial assistance from the Stranraer Common Good Fund. This report asks members of the Stranraer Common Good Fund subcommittee to consider 2 applications for financial assistance we have in front of us. The first is from the Fed Up Cafe in Stranraer. They've applied for £1,000 of financial assistance towards Christmas hampers and their big Christmas dinner 2025. That'll go a long way towards helping people in food insecurity and make sure they have a Merry Christmas. The second is from Stranraer Community Events Group, who've applied for £3,000 for Christmas activities in Stranraer, including the Christmas light switch on. So we've just been discussing Christmas lights, and they're applying to turn them on and make sure that as many people as possible can participate. We've got Ingrid here to answer any questions. So I'll open it up. And Councillor Giusti, you're wanting in.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to support the Fed Up Cafe application as it is. The second application, when we opened up that £3,000 as a ring fence, that we definitely had £3,000 for Christmas. I'm glad we've done that. I think the ethos of it was so that it was shared amongst groups, although I'm not going to let that prejudice what we've got in front of us today, because I think we do need to support it and get something going on. But there will be monitoring on this, and I think we need to make sure we're robust in our monitoring on this application, because I think there's members of the community that would expect us to be robust with our monitoring, as we always are, but just make sure that we are with this. But I would grant it. I know that we've got other applications that are looking to come in for Christmas events. We'll deal with them when they come, and we'll deal with them fairly and hopefully transparently. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Andrew. Ingrid, has there been any other applicants towards the fund, or is it just the two in front of us?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I can confirm today that we have received 3 additional applications that not for this meeting today, obviously, given the timescale in which they were received. But I am seeking approval for another Common Good meeting before Christmas in order to get those heard.
Andrew.
To come back on that as well, Chair, for next year, can we ensure that we have the information out there to the groups and to the community so that they know exactly what's available, exactly what they can apply for? I know that you can apply for anything from the Common Good, really. You're not limited to that £3,000. We've just got that as a backstop, so we've got that definitely for Christmas. So make sure that we're talking to the community so they all know what's there and they've all got a level playing field, and make sure that we get their applications in early rather than this scramble that we've had this year. Maybe even put a cut-off for Christmas, that you need to have your application in, done, dusted, signed on the dots by the end of October or something like that, or whatever gives you the time, Ingrid, your team, the time to actually get it marked, scored, and the money out the door, because I know that a lot of these deposits and that need to be given before, months in advance to some of these companies to come and do some things here. So you're probably going to need to actually have money out the door before November. Maybe October is actually too late for it, but I don't know.
I think you're right, Councillor Giusti. I think timescales and awareness of funding is an ongoing challenge, really, isn't it? But Ingrid, maybe you can elaborate on that for us.
Yeah, just so members are aware, we do have detailed information on our website about the timescales for common goods and discretionary grants being considered. So that should be clear to people. And we do, we have third sector colleagues, we have ward officers, we have colleagues within health and social care who are aware of this information, who do disseminate it as much as possible. But I take your point, and that maybe we need to make sure that people are, fully aware of what is available to them, and we'll definitely follow that up as a team and through our locality hub as well.
Councillor Giusti.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ingrid. Just because I think it's important that everyone knows about it. I don't know if there's any kind of, because this is a common good, I don't know if we have any budget to actually, well, we do have budget, we've got our own money, for us to actually put advertisements up. I don't know, like a poster scheme or something around town. Have you got a group that needs to apply for money? Here's where to apply, and here's how to get the document. Here's some of our timings. If you're wanting a Christmas application, we want your application in before then. Is there any way that we can do a campaign like that as a common good? I don't know, put a couple of £100 into some printing costs and putting posters about it in the library and in chip shops or whatever. I don't know if that's a good use of public money, but at least you can say that we've consulted or we've put the information out there.
It certainly wouldn't be common practice for a common good, but I can look into it to see if there's potential in it. Absolutely, but I do commit to making sure that the information does get out there next year and that things are a lot clearer in terms of the website. I know that we've had some changes as far as the website's concerned this year, and that maybe have impacted on that. So we'll definitely take cognizance of that. Thanks.
Yeah.
Chair.
Yeah, sorry,
There's
Robert.
obviously a lot of ill feeling being caused by all of this because there's been a lack of information. I think we need to be more transparency, more joined up thinking, putting everybody together. We tried to get people to come and meet us, but we couldn't get it. There's no, and the £3,000 was what we were led to believe was available. I know there maybe was information there, but when we had meetings, that was all we were told. And when we spoke to Millennium Centres, our partners, they said they couldn't work with us at that budget. And then suddenly, as per the Free Press, we suddenly realised there's another 3,000 has become available. So it's going to cause a lot. But you need to next year, as Councillor Gissy says, get ahead of the game, get us all pulled together, get somewhere consulting us all the people, potential people that can do this in the town. Because it's just going to, there's no point out fighting against each other.
Indeed. Like we've just said, it's reaching out to people, making sure that they're aware of these funds is a routine challenge, and it's certainly something that I've seen since I've been elected. People just don't know when funding pots are open, they don't know the timescales, they don't even know that they exist sometimes. And I know that the ward team, you know, you're usually really quite proactive about reaching out to groups, especially those who are maybe frequent appliers, you know the ones to go to and such. In regards to posters and a communication campaign, Councillor Giusti, I mean, that would need to be accosted for and such, but are you wanting back in? Yeah.
No, Chair, it was just to put my knuckles out and get wrapped a wee bit. The £3,000 ring fencing was my idea. I thought it would be a good idea for us to start. When we came to Christmas time, we hadn't spent our budget and we were left with nothing to support the community. So I think the £3,000's been seen as an arbitrary. That's a hard line of what we're going to spend on Christmas. The common good's open for anyone at any time. I think it's maybe been conceived that £3,000 is all we were planning or willing to spend on Christmas. Now, it was more of a sort of we went left with nothing in the pot. We've been discussing it for a while. I think it was last November, that this meeting last November, I raised it as an option. I know it took a wee bit of time for us to actually agree it and bring it through into our criteria, but that'll get picked up next year. I know that we had a mistake this year in the sense of getting that information out there, and we have to. I'll put my hands up and apologise for that.
Is this the £3,000 that's ring fenced for Christmas activities? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We've got a similar thing.
I think it'll be a totally different story next year because you've suddenly opened the can of worms now. We're having this limitless pot of money that seems to be out there now. You're going to have every Tom, Dick and Harry applying for money to do things. Which we would have done that if we'd known there was going to be that amount of money available. I'm
just trying to keep it straight in my head because there's a few different Christmas funding pots, isn't there, Ingrid? Including what we've just agreed for on our own part for the lights and such. So, Councillor Giusti, yeah. So
at the moment, there's £3,000 that comes through the area committee block grant. Well, block grant, I'd call it block grant. So you've got that £3,000, which is what the community council have traditionally always drawn down on. And they were saying last year that wasn't quite enough to actually deliver Christmas activities. So we thought, I think as a committee, we thought, well, we'll make sure that there's at least £3,000 there at the end of the year for our Christmas events so that we can support more Christmas events. But I think it's the communication breakdown of actually getting that out to folk who want to deliver Christmas events, that there is more money out there. And it's not just limited to the £3,000 that we've put in as a common good. So I think that's just what we need to clear up here. And I'm happy to take the knuckle rapping, as I said, because I think I came up with the brainchild idea, and I think it's been perceived that we're only willing to spend £3,000.
It's maybe something for us to look at again when we come to the criteria for the common good, which we keep changing. Yes. We've changed it almost every year since I've been here. Andrew?
I don't necessarily think the criteria is wrong. I think the criteria is fine. I think the understanding of folk out there is that the £3,000 ring fence is all we're willing to spend. I think it's just at the end of the year when you get to Christmas. I've seen as we've spent 20 grand throughout the year and we've got nothing left by Christmas, and we've not been able to support the Christmas events years ago. Not in this council term, but definitely before COVID. I remember it was we'd spent our full council budget and we weren't able to support Christmas events.
I think our only concern is, and I was glad to hear you saying about the monitoring, because we're slightly concerned you hand out money to private companies that there's no monitoring what they actually spend it on, because we've had experience and I don't want to go that way. You know what we do with the money, but you don't know what other people are going to do with it.
Well, I don't want to get embroiled in this company, that company, and such in this committee. But I take your point, Robert. Okay. Any more comments? No. Okay. So moving on to the recommendations, we've noted the estimated free income balance of £24,667.28p is available for disbursement in 2025-2026. We've looked at the agreed grant criteria for funding as detailed at Appendix 1, and we're considering and agreeing awards to the applicants, being the Fed Up Cafe for their Christmas hampers and big Christmas dinner, and for Stranraer Community Events Group for Christmas activities and the Christmas lights switch on in Stranraer. I'm happy to agree.
Excuse me, Chair, just a minute about what Ingrid said about the other applicants. We obviously are one of the other applicants. Do we know that we're going to get the money or not, or do we have to have a backstop of using our own money if we don't get awarded the money? Because we are obviously supporting Millennium Centre with that account.
Ingrid, can
And we
you...
need to know, because selection boxes have to be bought and different things have to be done.
Maybe something to follow up offline afterwards, but Ingrid...
Yeah, so obviously we're here today to consider the applications that's in front of us. More than happy to pick up a conversation separately about the applications that we've received, which will be considered if we get agreement to hold another meeting. So yeah, happy to pick up that conversation with you separately.
Okay, thank you. So moving on, we've agreed the recommendations. Agenda item 10, Stranraer Common Good Fund Subcommittee Monitoring Report 2024-2025. Members are asked to note the monitoring information from 2024-2025 for funds awarded from Stranraer Common Good Fund Subcommittee as detailed in the appendix. And then there's a list of organisations and the projects which they delivered. And it's just good to see that, gosh, yeah. You forget because we're always giving out money all the time. So actually having it there in terms of, and all the feedback, yeah, it's really good that we've got all this. So any comments from members? Councillor Giusti?
Chair, I think when you look at what we funded last year, it just shows the scope of what we do.
Indeed.
You've got stuff in there from the Gateway to Galloway. This is where I maybe should declare some sort of interest. I'm a director of, well, a trustee of the Development Trust, but we're not issuing any money or anything like that here. I think you've got a tourism benefit there. You go to Skiffy World, that is a national tourism benefit. That's another massive feather in our cap that we funded. The Millennium Centre, it's a core building and facility in the town. The town has had a Millennium Centre for years. We need to make sure that the doors stay open there. You've got something that needs to be supported. I'm happy to support it. And that's all I've got to really say, Chair. We need to ensure that these organisations keep running. And one of the changes that we made to the criteria was that we would support these organisations, well, not these organisations, but organisations in general, even with revenue costs, because that's somewhere they're really struggling at the minute, is to find revenue and keep the doors open, keep the lights on, keep the staff in.
Absolutely. I think it's a problem across the board. There's loads of money for capital, but there's not always money for running things. And that's the perennial issue.
Chair, do you have a window for the applications? You know, we have a certain window for wind farm application. Do you have a window for people to apply for funding or grants? Or is that the whole year is available?
I think that information's on the website, but Ingrid?
It is on the website, and I'm sure for Stranraer, it is technically 3 meetings a year for your application, so it clearly states that on the website. I'm sure it's 3, some of them are 4.
It's been more than 3.
But it's definitely been more than 3 because there's been a few ad hoc meetings. But yeah, I think, and you know, if we improve in terms of getting the information out to people who could potentially apply about those deadlines for applications being considered, then that would make everything a lot smoother for everybody, I think, yeah.
Councillor Giusti?
Just on that, Chair, yeah, I think we're probably going to have to, because we've tried to be as fluid as possible in the past, and because it was always the fund of last resort, if you're a fund of last resort, you need to be fluid of when you're going to give money out. But we're seeing that we're seeing this fluidity as being a downfall for us. I think we maybe need to go to a more rigid structure of 4 meetings a year. And you need to have your applications in by then if you want to be considered for that. I like being able to help everyone that we can as they need it, when they need it, but it's proven that it's just become a wee bit too chaotic.
I mean, we did something similar where essentially the fund almost operated seasonally because it opened for summer and then it opened for Christmas funding. What you're suggesting sounds sort of like that, in a sense, yeah.
But that never really hit off the ground, did it, Chair?
Which is why we changed it, because people were coming earlier than the Christmas funding because they wanted to plan in advance or such. So I think both ways of doing it maybe have their pros and cons, and it's about navigating that. And certainly when we review the criteria of the common good, we can look at that again.
Chair, I think it focuses everybody's minds when you've actually got a cut-off point, because that's what we've decided to do now. We do it twice a year and we have the cut-off and we let people know through the Facebook page. And that way people have to get applications in. They know there's another window coming. And you know you're going to get considered then. So you can't just do bits and pieces. You have to have sort of cut-offs and just be more precise about it.
I see Ingrid's got the website. What does the website say?
So I know that obviously June is a scheduled meeting because they're running in line with area committees, and also September and November. And I can confirm that on the website it's really clear about when the deadlines are. So for the September meeting it's the 4th of August, and for the November meeting it's supposed to be the 6th of October.
And certainly I've had communications from local groups before who have been talking about the deadlines and wondering whether they'd be able to fit or have their application heard in time before the meeting. So, but it is on the website, so there are dates, and I think it's really just about making them aware. People don't know, that's the issue. And certainly if we want to pursue a communications campaign and put up posters, yeah, if it gets a message out, you know.
It's all about communication with the public and organisations. That's the way forward, is to let them all know what's going on. Yeah. It's okay, the website, but you have to look at it, but I mean, you have to put the information out there for people to know.
And certainly the council's Facebook channel, I think, could be a bit more proactive about promoting funding in the west of the region. I'm always making people aware of funding on my own personal councillor page, but, you know, I see that the corporate page, it talks about Dumfries funding quite a lot, but not always the Stranraer funding. So there's maybe a conversation to be had with the comms team on that. Councillor Giusti, are you wanting back in?
I know my hand was there, right? Like I was itching to get back in, but I wasn't actually. Just on a final comment on that then. It's a lot of the time, the lack of information getting out there, the folk who get it is you and I, Councillor Ashburn, Councillor Ingalls, that there's not enough information out there. And we try our best to make sure everyone has the same information as much as we can, but at the same time it's impossible. You're never going to be able to disseminate the level of information out to everyone in a fair mechanised way as a councillor. So it has to come from the corporate body, which is where everyone looks at, and that's the message I would say, because it's easy for members of the community, etc., to point the fingers at the councillors. But we are just trying to do the best with what we've got. And although I'll take the knuckle rapping this time for this cash, we need to be out there in future and let the groups know that the common good's open for everyone fairly to come and get their applications heard.
Sorry. Okay, I'm happy to go to the recommendations. Yeah. Thank you. So we've noted the monitoring information from 2024-25 for the funds awarded, as detailed in the appendix. Happy with that? Thank you. Moving on is any other business. Ingrid, date of next meeting before Christmas, did you say, hopefully?
So we're looking for approval for another meeting, but I don't have that as yet. I will let you know as soon as I know.
Well, that can be liaised through the appropriate channels and members in due course. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming, everyone. Thanks for your contributions.
Well, if the extra meeting doesn't happen, is that the meeting you're going to decide these funding applications at? So will that, if there's not a meeting, there'll be no decision made?
I don't have the power to make the decision about whether there's a meeting, but...
And just for clarity, neither do I, because it goes through business channels. Yeah. Councillor Giusti.
On that, Chair, did we not change the criteria? I think when we changed the criteria, we took it off the chair's head that you were the only one solely able to do meetings because of previous things that's happened.
Indeed, previously it said that the chair had the power to call an ad hoc meeting, but we changed that because I'm not comfortable acting unilaterally. I prefer to work with all of you in regards to that.
Did we not change the criteria that two-thirds of the committee, or was it a quarter or half or something like that, could pull an ad hoc meeting? I think it was more than half, but two-thirds doesn't make sense. So I'm going to say 3/4. Because if we request that, Chair, then in my opinion, officers and governance have got no choice but to give us the meeting.
On page 89 of your criteria, point number 2, it does talk about applications may be considered on an ad hoc basis with the approval of 2/3 of the elected members of the Stranraer Common Good Fund Subcommittee. And decisions will be dependent on the availability of budgets.
So, Chair, can we make that request today that we do have another one?
I will maybe turn to Ingrid because it does sound like you're waiting for approval from governance in the council or business.
Yeah, so we need to work through the proper channels to get a decision on that. So we will get back to you as quickly as possible.
I think considering that we don't know who the applications are, but perhaps that information can be communicated to members and then we can review that information and decide whether we wish to call that ad hoc meeting with the permission of 2 out of 3/4 of members of the committee.
So on the back of that, Chair, when you read that, is that part of our criteria not worth the paper it's written on then? Are we worth removing that if we don't have the ability to call these meetings?
We need to work through basically the proper officer to get approval to hold committee meetings. You'll appreciate that every committee meeting that's held has cost and there's got to be justification. So that's why we have to go through the process.
I think it's 2 separate procedures. If members are aware of an issue which requires that emergency action, then we can maybe perhaps
we need the approval from
make that decision and have that approval. But we don't know the details about what these applications are right now. So I think that's maybe the difference. But I've complete faith in Ingrid to pursue that through the relevant channels and get proper approval.
For what it's worth, I also have faith in Ingrid.
Appreciated, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming along today and for contributing, and we'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you.